Hello and welcome. Today is Friday, the 16th day of June, 2017, and welcome. Let's take a look at a precious metals set of charts for today, but we'll start off within the US dollar index because this really is a very important chart if you are doing any form of metals trading, as it can really help within indications. Generally speaking, they move counterintuitive, so if the dollar index goes down, the price of gold and silver will rise, and vice versa. But that's generally not necessarily always the case, both short term and even mid or long term at times as well. With that being stated, as far as its chart's concerned, several lower highs, several lower lows, and currently within this 18 average up to this low, practically being matching with this one. Band is flattening out, testing to attempt to break over this. So it's in the attempt to revert the trend. If there is any rallies, where did it come from? Well, it came from in here. So you don't be surprised if there's a level of resistance upwards to about 98.75 to about 99.50, as this was a key area in which it found support, and then the breakdown resistance in here, and then breaking down below the key support area. Well, that's pretty obvious that if this goes down, you're making patterns of lower lows, so that's what you'd be making is a lower low. With the silver market, looking at the daily chart, as the dollar index was a daily chart as well, this is definitely looking as if it's ready to break down for a leg lower. At least it looks very, very strong based on its current pattern. I've talked a lot about the straight up, straight downs on practically every single move since the year has begun. And now within this current straight down move of the last 8 or 9 sessions, after it fell below this band, the Janet Yellen, I guess, increased rates 1/4 basis points. It's resisting a couple days within this band. It has had much support where it stands now at 1671. The resistance band area is 1720, so those will be the numbers I'll focus on now that I look at this more short term. And the current level of 67 would be, well, where it is now. You can see multiple tests in the 1720 area in here. So this was where it lifted down from the daily time frame 18 average band. The fall down, the normal lower high into the band, the fall down matching a little bit, yeah, technically, and a decent break below the previous one into the band, and it's leaving it right now on this current period on this 2-hour time frame. So the indications are most certainly that if you're looking for by the book, when is it a good time to enter in a short position on weakness and you want a good probability, and you likely are going to get a winning play relatively quickly, this would kind of be it. As far as people talking about stops, this is where the basic format would be. If it goes over this line, then you know that this current downward trend right now would be that of a failed breakdown. But it does look as if it's going to break down below the support and find a lower low somewhere. And with everything I'm saying, make any investment choices that you make at your own risk and your own reward, because you as an individual should be in control of your own investments, which means tuning into videos like this to help in whichever ways might be needed for some people. And I am grateful and thankful to be able to help in those manners. But everything you do, it's on your own risk, own reward. Looking at gold now on the exact same 2-hour time frame, a lot of the similar, somewhat kind of deals. However, in this one, it is at the stage of having the big move, its first correction within this band, that it's in the I don't know kind of deal. So if you're looking at the last silver chart, okay, it's got the momentum. It obviously loses the strength if gold doesn't have the exact same pattern. And of course, the dollar index is in a downtrend. Those are two reasons, making it a little difficult to have amazing conviction of high probability on the last silver short bet in that situation. But in here, it's the same pattern, though, as we shown before, going down and below. And maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that this is going to do such. Because I guess either or, you see silver start to break down, gold will obviously follow suit. And if gold doesn't and it attempts to break out by going above this 18 average, then that failed breakdown in silver probably would follow, because they're going to most likely trade, and they usually always do, in the similar harmony with each other. Sometimes one will be over or more larger than others in moves. And lately it's been gold that has been dominating silver in some of the moves. And we'll get to the gold to silver ratio after the daily chart. And within this on the daily time frame, just like the silver one not looking so good, this one is not so much either. Because when you're making a pattern of a bullish move, what I like about this 18 average band is it helps determine correctionary phases. And well, it's showing me, and the story of such too, and it's showing me the story is that it's looking weak. Because within a correctionary phase in a bull market, I really want to see a couple of ways this band corrects. Number one is basically any kind of perfect correction, right? If you want to call perfect, whatever. But like this, it goes in the band, doesn't really leave it, and then as it's done correcting, nice break it, like this break it. And here's another example. And sometimes it's going to have a decent push below it or whatever. It can even be higher and then capture it fast. Heck, it could come down here and capture it fast. You know what? That's still good enough. But then you get to the situation where in here, for example, it's not holding well, and then on the break, boom, down support. And right now, the synopsis is it's not holding well. It hasn't had any type of break. But if you see any further momentum going down, breaking down its current levels into new lows, you could have decent sized red candle days or multiple of them, and maybe have a decent higher low in here or test the previous low from May. Let's move on to the ratio of gold and silver. And we're looking at the daily chart. And after a very much choppy pattern up until April, it's got an interesting pattern at this stage. And well, again, everything September, October, November, December, I'm not going to highlight anything above the band, below the band. It's easy to see. Not, I guess at 2017 at the start, it did do its lower high, lower low in the band normally, but it had the whole sideways range from about 67 low change to mid change, 67.10, 67.60, upwards to about 72.5 to about 73. So that was its long-standing range, and maybe even a bit longer. We'll take a look at more time frames. But since then, or since this April move, huge increase going from 67 to 75. And as I talked about before, sometimes you can have a little bit of a deep correction below here. It's just one move below the band. You have a big move. You need to settle out. So stuff like this doesn't concern me when the band has this move in here, matching low, and boom, fall like that, because that's just not a surprise when you have a massive move up or down, that you can have a large settling in period. But markets oftentimes go back to where they came from. I say this a lot recently. It did go back to where it was. Previous support or resistance became support. And that's why it's important to note when you see any chart, I don't care what the code of this is, but if the market's here and you want to buy, I will tell you I wouldn't buy at that stage, not when it's straight up like that, well above the 18 average band when it's breaking 74 to 75, no. But as I state, well, where was it before? Oh, around 72.5 to 73. Well, that's where you would buy. And look how 72.5 to 73 did. How you doing? So there, after this move and the upward situation to this level in here, it's showing a bullish pattern situation or bullish setup that could be coming into play, because resistance, and it's in that area as well. I'd also be stating, if you're looking for any short pullbacks, well, where was it? Where would a reasonable pullback be? I know this is something you really can't trade, but just going over analysis, and some people actually can trade this, then that's where it was. But as of late, right now, the gold to silver ratio is moving towards the upside. I want to look at this more short term and long term. I'm going to look at it short term next. And when I'm looking at any type of charts, I wish it was just so easy on a platform where I could click on a button. Okay, I want to watch the chart from this key high. So whatever amount of periods it works, and it's obviously going to be since May. So that's the next chart that I'm going to put through. And here we have it on the 4-hour time frame. So there's the run up, and then there's test number 1, test number 2, albeit it hasn't came there yet. Very close. Nice low on where it was. Move up to this point, some consolidation, and just breaking out past this band right now. A very bullish pattern as it presents itself. Normally speaking, when this goes higher, gold and silver goes lower. And when this goes lower, gold and silver goes higher. So on the outset, at the start, I was talking about these bearish setups that gold and silver have on the short-term, mid-term time frame. Well, this is showing it even more so as well. I stated I want to take a look at this long-term, so let's do such. Taking a look now at the monthly time frame, you've had this wild breakdown, but overall this move occurred to the point where it moved double higher in the area of where the historic gold to silver ratio is, and at around the 16 to 1 level. And other than this move, it has been in a range bound market of about around 45 to about 85, as it's been resisted test here, resist test here, resist again. So on a move of a higher level, moving to this upper end on the short midterm time frame would be where this would be expected to go. I look at fundamental analysis and I realize, based on how much silver is being produced, how much it's being used, how heavy the silver markets fundamentally have been manipulated over the last, well, during my entire life of living on this planet, for that matter, and I've been living for a little over 40 years, that I do expect this to take a serious amount to go lower long term. So if there's any type of short-term fluctuations before the cartel system basically goes through a major change, maybe some might call it a collapsing period, that who knows short term how this thing might go, and if it might have a serious break above here. I can't state at all, but I do believe this will be moving in a free market, and when the opportunity for this to be the case, I wouldn't be surprised to see silver prices escalating and this thing just crashing. The Webbot has stated for recent time that they would expect this, or they're stating that silver and gold goes to parity or down to 1-to-1, albeit maybe for a very short period of time. Meaning, maybe later this might be one where it crashes here to 1 later on, and then it just rises right back up to maybe 10 to 15, or maybe 10 in here, and maybe this might be the 16 as an example, maybe into the 20s or the next decade as one idea as how it may play out. But that's what's been stated. I feel the same way, that it should not only go down to its historic 16 to 1 ratio, but I think a fair ratio, and I have for years, roughly around 9 or 10, would make a lot of sense, but this is, again, just what I feel it should be, or how my research has shown me. We'll finish this off now with a quick look at both palladium and platinum. As palladium in here on the monthly chart having a very, very beautiful pattern, I think is worth noticing, as it's had these resistance tests on several of occasions. Hey, failed move, fast move coming in. Overall, though, from this big move, sideways correctionary phase on the break of this resistance, wow, it could have some decent moves. On the daily time frame, it has managed to, since this last move higher, take a move back down to this band, and therefore further momentum higher. The market of the message is stating it's had its correctionary move, it's back bullish again, and it very easily not only should test this previous high, but just like in here, breaking and making a new high wouldn't be a surprise. Any further pullback markets oftentimes go back to where they came from, and around 800 would be an area I'd be looking for support if it's not able to hold. And let's conclude this within the platinum market on the daily chart, which is obviously in a downtrend. This low has been taken out, 18 average is declining. It looks like it's in this bear market leaving the band, that good chance of having a test in this area. Okay, this is about a 17-minute video. That definitely wasn't the plan. My plan was probably 10 to 12, 13, but I did everything I wanted to show. I wanted to show the dollar index, silver, gold, the ratio, and then palladium, platinum, and go over it through that section. So I'm going to try to keep do the best that I can to keep this long enough where it shows all the information that I need, but try not to delay it out. It can become very difficult in cryptos when there's so much information and so many more codes. But I will try to mix it up a little bit and try to get it into about 8 to 10 minutes when I'm going through all of the markets. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great weekend. Bye-bye.